Here we go. You are live in about 5 seconds. Okay. Here we go. All right. Welcome, everybody. We've got our bookkeeping professional, Goode, and she is going to be giving us a brilliant insight to QuickBooks. This is a QuickBooks 101 training so that you can get a brief overview of how to use it and how to be empowered to make some decisions with your bookkeeping needs. All right, Kim, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So hello, everybody. Good evening. I am Kimberly Goode with Goode Business Solutions. And so why don't we do a little bit of connecting, networking. So if you are live on here or when you jump on or do the replay, comment in the comments here what business you own, how many years you've been in business, and your favorite business book. So I will start. I am Kimberly Goode with Goode Business Solutions. I have been in business for 10 years. I do bookkeeping and payroll. And my favorite business book is Profit First. And this is not going to be a Profit First talk, but if anybody wants to talk about Profit First, please let me know. I love talking about it, but that was an amazing book. It was a game changer for me and my business. And it just really talks about the business owner paying themselves, saving for taxes, and there's so much more that goes into it, but it was a really, really good book. Actually, everything that Mike Michalowicz writes is really great. But yeah, put that down in the chat so that we can kind of get to know each other. And there's maybe somebody in the chat that you might need their services, and no reason we can't connect here. So I started my business. I love numbers. And so that's why I got into the business that I got into, accounting and bookkeeping. And, entrepreneurship is so amazing. I love entrepreneurship. I think that whatever you do, whether it's your own business or working for somebody else, you need to get out of bed every day and be excited about what you're going to do. And I used to work at a company that it was a very, very large insurance company. And I was not excited to go to work every day. I used to dread Sunday evenings because I knew Sunday evening was the end of the weekend and I was ready to go back to work Monday morning. So when I became my own business owner, I have never felt that dread of working or anything at all. I like the freedom. And I also like that, as a business owner, we work extra hours sometimes and sometimes we don't. So it's really great. But our talk tonight is about QuickBooks Online. So I wanted to see, and I know that we're in a chat here. So if you are live, let us know, do you have QuickBooks Online? If you're hitting the replay, let us know. Are you using QuickBooks Online? And so I've got some reasons here on why QuickBooks Online is a great software to use. I mean, first and foremost, we are business owners and we are professional business owners. We need a professional software to track our income and expenses. QuickBooks Online is great because you can access it from anywhere. If you have something that's on your desktop, then if something happens to that computer, whether it crashes or gets damaged or lost or stolen, then your software goes with it. So with something that's online, you know that you will always be able to access it from somewhere else. There is not any need for software installation or any updates, anything like that. So online is constantly updated. You can manage your finances on any device. You can use a smartphone, a tablet. QuickBooks Online does have an app, so you can access things through that. And it offers more features than the actual desktop edition does. Actually, I feel like QuickBooks is guiding people towards the online and away from the desktop version. So, but you can also collaborate with other people in real time. So I have a girl named Rosemary that works with me, and she works from her home, and I work from my home. When we're working on someone's accounts, I can log into QuickBooks and she can make changes, or I can make changes, and we can both see that in real time. And that's very convenient to be able to update something and not have to send her an accountant version or vice versa. And your data will always be backed up automatically, and it's very secure to have that online security. So, okay. You've bought QuickBooks Online. Now what do you do? A lot of business owners think that they can just connect their bank account and just let it do its own thing. That's not exactly the way it is. So have you all ever spent money out of your own pocket or your personal account for your business? And has anyone ever made a payment to you that has bounced? Different situations like that, that is going to need some manual entry. It's not going to do it on its own. As business owners, we will pay for stuff with cash. Sometimes we use our personal account, and those have to be entered in manually so that you can expense those on your profit and loss. And if you're not entering those, then you might forget or miss an expense that could be something that would be really good for your taxable income at the end of the year. So
I completely agree. I was totally that person. So I went online, got QuickBooks Online, and I was like, it's going to connect to my bank account and it's going to be magic.
yes, it just does it itself.
And yeah, I noticed too, like I have to categorize things. Can you tell us a little bit about the categorizing items?
Yeah, absolutely. So your bank account will connect, but it doesn't categorize those for you. It attempts to. QuickBooks Online will give you suggestions. So if you wrote a check, there's no way for QuickBooks to know what that check was written to or who to. So it could be you paying yourself. It could be a lot of different things. And QuickBooks is not going to know because they don't have that connection to the check. Also, expenses like Amazon or Walmart or Target, you could have gotten a few different things there. Amazon, you could get cleaning supplies, you could get office supplies, you could get office furniture, which would be an office expense. If you bought office supplies from Amazon, QuickBooks Online will try to automatically categorize it as office supplies every single time. So if you go in and you just click add, you might have spent $700 on a new desk that would be office expense because it's furniture. And that's not going to be categorized correctly. It's now going to put that large amount of money into office supplies. So that's why it's best to, you can't just connect it and go, and then just add. You really have to pay attention to what's going on with it. And like I said, if somebody's check bounces and you've already added that income or connected it to that invoice, then the person there's a lot of manual entry that goes into correcting that on the income side. So, okay. So organization, how does QuickBooks keep us organized? All right, who has a purse or a pocket full of receipts or invoices all over your desk, right? Like that is just how we are. Why do we do that? We don't have time to put it in. We will do it later. And guess what? Later, we're tired. Later, we want to spend time with our friends and family. The last thing we want to do after a hard day of work is sit down and do the paperwork when, especially we have young kids in school, we need to help with homework. We need to cook dinner. And we want to just spend time with them. And you want your business to give you freedom. So focusing on what makes money for your business. Have an amazing business consultant named Izzy that I work with that says money making activities. So when we're organized, we can focus on those money making activities. We can focus on doing that and not have to focus on the back end stuff, the paperwork, the sending out the invoices, the sending out bills, accounts receivable, accounts payable, all those things. We really need to focus on what is bringing money into our business and that's what we're passionate about. How many of you are passionate about accounting? I really feel like I'm the only one that is like excited about accounting and
Yes,
bookkeeping.
you are.
So I think I'm the only one out there. So nobody wants to sit down and do that. They're excited about what they do, and that's why they went into business. So do that. So another reason that we want to stay organized and using QuickBooks Online can help us do that is by analyzing the income and the expenses. Where's the money being spent and where's the money coming in? So when we are analyzing our reports, the money that's being spent, maybe we look at that at the end of the month and we're like, wow, I went to Starbucks like a lot, or I spent a lot of time eating out on one-to-ones, or, we just really want to know that money that we are spending on those expenses is a return on our investment. Are we getting money back for what we're doing? So you're not going to know how much you spent unless you have a report showing you, how much you spent at a certain place. Also, where is money coming in? So it's really, really great to break that down. So for us, we do bookkeeping, we do payroll, and to be able to see how much we're bringing in for bookkeeping, how much we're bringing in for payroll. A lot of businesses own or have different streams of income. So to see where we want to focus our attention on, how much time is it taking us to bring in that income? There's just so many things that we can tell from our reports when they are organized. And if they're not done and organized, then we're really not getting a good read on where our business is and where the money's going. So, okay. So, also for the organization part, there is doing the books daily, which is something that I mentioned Rosemary that works with me, and Rosemary does for our clients the books daily. The reason that you want to sit down at the end of the day with your books for 30 minutes to an hour to sit down every day is you will catch important things. We have caught things like fraud. We've caught things like being overcharged, double billed, overdrafts. Sometimes when you can see that an account is getting ready to go overdraft, we're able to contact that person and say, hey, if you deposit some money in today, you're not going to get all those fees. Nothing's going to bounce. So we want to make sure that we are in front of those things. They don't happen all the time, but when we do, we want to be in front of it. Fraud. I had a client that I knew they were on vacation in North Carolina, and we were seeing expenses come out in New York. So we were able to contact that client and say, hey, we noticed that money is being spent in New York. Did you go on a different vacation? They said no. They called their bank and we were able to stop that card. What had happened was they used it in North Carolina at a gas station and it got compromised. So they were able to stop that right then. They weren't going to see that on vacation. So it is really good for if you're doing your own bookkeeping, make sure you're sitting down an hour to an hour or half an hour to an hour every single day and looking over that, entering in expenses, entering in income from the day. If they get behind, it doesn't get easier. It just gets a little bit more overwhelming because you got it sitting there waiting on you. So looking at our reports from QuickBooks, there are some very, very valuable, yes, Izzy said, peace of mind while on vacation, and she is 100% right. So there are some reports that I love looking at. For one, we always look at the profit and loss. You want to make sure you're looking at that, your balance sheet. You're able to look at the comparison, which I love looking at the comparison. So the years that we've had recently, you would see from 2019 to 2020 and 2021, of course, you would see a difference, a big dip in the way we were doing business. But now we're on an upswing. It's 2023. It's time to look at those numbers and see that we're going back up. But we can do reports in QuickBooks Online that will show us what January of 2022 looked like compared to January of 2023. That is such an awesome tool because we're able to see what are we doing. Again, analyzing these reports and going over it. Another thing that we love to use is percentage of income that the expenses are. So what percentage of our income is the office supplies? What percentage of our income is our payroll? Different things like that. It's great to see. And that also is back to like a profit first kind of thing, which if you all would like me to do a talk on profit first, please let me know. I will do that. Or if you would like me to sit down one-on-one with you and we talk about profit first, please let me know. I get very excited about that. But that's another thing, is profit first is a percentage way of doing things. Other reports that are amazing: accounts receivable, accounts payable, sales tax. You want to be able to sales tax, of course, you need to know what that number is for sure, because that's, going straight to Kentucky or whatever state you're in. Another report is payroll wages, to be able to see where those are. And we use a different software for our payroll, but I highly, highly, highly suggest that if you are running payroll, you get somebody to do it for you. There are payroll taxes, and they're 941s that goes to the IRS, K1s that goes to Kentucky, W1s that goes to Louisville Metro, UI3 that goes to unemployment Kentucky. Then if you're in St. Matthews, there's one for St. Matthews, J-Town, one for J-Town. So payroll can be a beast, and you want to make sure that none of those are ever late, and that you have very, very detailed reports of your payroll wages to make sure that you're getting those right. You don't want to short them, and nobody wants to overpay. So you just make sure that those are correct. So I would never suggest like you doing payroll on your own. Get somebody to do it for you. Get a good payroll software. And you can also run a report for 1099s. At the end of the year, you want to make sure that you have a W-9 that is filled out. A W-9 is going to show your contractor's name, social, or EIN, and their address. So you want to make sure that you have that information so that at the end of the year, you can prepare that 1099. Also, those 1099s need to be sent out January 31st. So if you have not done your bookkeeping and kept up with your bookkeeping all year long, you're going to be scrambling to get the amounts that you paid to the subcontractors together. So you want to make sure that everything is caught up. So, and who wants to scramble and do that right after Christmas and New Year's? I mean, that's not fun. You do not want, okay. So you guys, the beginning of the year is for making goals. The beginning of the year is to focus on where we're going in the next year. January of 2023, we want to focus on 2023. What are our goals? Where are we going? How are we going to grow? We do not want to spend our January of 2023 stressing out about the stuff that has not been tied up and done for 2022. So making sure that you have everything in your QuickBooks Online and everything is ready and ready to go. If that means that you hire somebody to help you to do that, then that is great. Or if that means you're going to spend an hour of your own time every day doing that, just do that. You have to make sure that it's done. You don't want to stress about that.
Yeah, so Kim, I have a question. So
Yeah.
with QuickBooks and with doing books in general, is
Yeah.
it good for like just business owners to be doing this? Or is it also good if you're a contractor or if you are, just paying yourself or working on your own in some way?
Yes, yes, thank you. That's a good question. So if you are a contractor, then you also have expenses that you can write off. And you are, whether you're, if you have an LLC for yourself or if you are a DBA, you still want to be able to track those income and expenses. You definitely want to make sure you're tracking that income, because if you are receiving income and you're receiving 1099s from multiple companies, at the end of the year, those companies are going to file those 1099s. They're going to send them to you and they're going to send them to the IRS. If your income does not match the income on your 1099s that you report on your taxes, you're going to have a problem. So you don't want the IRS flagging that. You don't want that to come back. So if you receive 1099s in the amount of $30,000, just for numbers, $30,000, but you report on your taxes that you brought in $20,000, then that's not going to match up with the IRS, what they've received. So yes, somebody that's a 1099 definitely wants to keep up with their income and their expenses so that they can, you need to put in your whole income, but you can write off your expenses as well, and mileage and home office and stuff like that. So definitely. Thank you, Izzy. So when we're looking at these reports, these reports, when they are done up to date and current, they can help us to grow in our business. They can help us to make decisions like quarterly tax estimates or planning for what our taxable income is going to look like at tax time. Also, if you are looking to get a loan for your business, they're going to ask for your current bookkeeping. They're going to ask for different things like that. If you are an entrepreneur and you are going to get a home loan or a car, when you get a loan for those things, even though they're for your personal, if you're not paying yourself through payroll, they're going to want to see your profit and loss. They're going to want to see what your business income is and what you're transferring to yourself so that they make sure that you can pay yourself. Step back in payroll. If you are on LLC, then you cannot put yourself on payroll. If you are a S Corp, you are required to put yourself on payroll. So if your business is structured as an S Corp, you have to get a payroll software, you have to get somebody to do, or you have to be writing or giving yourself a paycheck, because as an S Corp, you get deduction, or you get reduced self-employment tax. For you getting that, you also want to make sure that they want to make sure that you're running payroll on yourself. So, but as an LLC, you don't want to be running payroll on yourself. But yeah, so when you're looking to do things like that, get loans or different things. You want to make sure that you have your up-to-date books. That's what people are going to want to see. You don't want to scramble. Like I've said throughout this whole thing, you don't want to be scrambling to get things together. That's where things are going to get missed. Things are going to get overlooked. If you're scrambling to put something together really quick, there's the ERC loan, the PPP, which is not available right now. But when those things were, you had to have your financial statements and documents. And Izzy, there was another one that you mentioned. What was the one you needed documents for?
Yeah, so for the certification, so for anybody that's wanting to do a WBE or an MBE, so that they can, potentially get government contracts or be able to work with corporations more, those are definitely necessary to set you apart and also prove your credibility. And in order to get those certifications, you need to prove, especially like a women business enterprise, you need to prove that you're a woman business owner. You need to show your books and prove that you're in good standing and that you've been in business for a while.
Yeah, thank you. I remembered you had mentioned that, so thank you. But those, what Izzy just mentioned, and like I said, the ERC, and the ERC is employee retention credit. So those are things that are going on right now, and you're not going to be able to apply for those if you don't have up-to-date books or financial statements. So
Yeah, and I'd say too, like when you're early in business, you don't think a lot about, oh, I might need a loan in the future. You don't think about, oh, I'm going to file these certifications later. And that's why it's so important as a business owner, you like need to be prepared for that scaling, because you might be thinking, oh, well, it's fine, I don't need to keep great books. But in 2 or 3 years from now, your business is at a new level and you've got to show 2 to 3 years worth of books.
right.
That sucks to go back and have to do all of those.
Definitely. And yeah, so those are the things that, why add that stress to ourselves? Why put that on our plate when it can easily be taken care of? And that's where, if you decide to do it yourself, you really need to consider how much your time is worth. You need to be thinking about how much that you charge an hour. And if you're going to spend an hour a day, how much is that hour worth to you? Or if you think you're going to sit on the weekends and spend like 4 or 5 hours catching everything up, well, who wants to do that? You want to spend time with your family, or shoot, rest, read a book. That's what I did last weekend. I just laid on the couch and read a book, and it was great. And
Right.
so,
And I would tell people too, like, plan on doing them maybe the first year,
yeah,
but you need to factor that into your expenses, that second year you are hiring a bookkeeper and having them do that for you. Like, you need to expect that as a business owner, especially if you want to take business to the next level.
absolutely. Well, I can tell you, you know, I know a lot of people, now not me for sure. There's a lot of people out there that can work on their own cars. They can change their own tire. They can, like, not me, not this girl. I find value in the like in the automotive shops, like big time. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to pay somebody else to do that. So it's just, this whole talk was just to let you all know how beneficial it is to be using a software. And if you are starting out and you need somebody to show you how to use it, please reach out. We do trainings, but also if you're a little bit more in like a 2 or 3, you've been in business for a while and you're tired of doing it yourself, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're behind, reach out. And there's also, I wanted to say, there is no shame ever. I don't want anybody to ever feel embarrassed or shame for where their books are. I have heard that time and time again. Oh my gosh, my stuff's a mess. Oh, my stuff, I'm so embarrassed. We didn't make this much money. We didn't, no, Like, I don't ever want to hear it. I want you to be able to come to me and know that Rosemary and I have zero judgment, been there, done that. We are totally there to support and love on our clients and encourage them to grow and empower them to just live their best lives. And I am all about it. So if you want to sit and cry about bills that are coming up, I will sit and cry with you, and then we will get over it. We will brush ourselves off and we will move on.
I
But
love that. I love that because there's so much shame around money for people.
yes. Mhm.
And a lot of times we measure our business success, and we might measure it differently when we know no one else is looking at the books.
Right.
But then suddenly when we have to show someone our books and we're like, is it good enough? Am I good enough? Did I do good enough? Yeah, and it's important to be able to trust someone with your books. That was something when I was in my MBA, like it was cautioned so much to choose someone that is trustworthy, that someone that's been in it for a while, that someone really has a business, and not just someone who's doing it on the side because they know how to do it.
Right. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've had people come to me and, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I haven't done my taxes or my bookkeeping for 3 years. It's like, okay, okay, so let's do them. So let's take that off your plate. Let's stop having sleepless nights over that. Let's
Right?
just do it and get that behind you, so that that build up becomes a weight and it pulls down on you. It stresses you out. The fear, you also have to be able to comfortably talk to people. I know when, and I'm not going to go into my whole story here, but I will just tell you all that, I'll talk to you all about that at some point. But I was in a position when I was in my early 20s that I had to rebuild myself. I had to figure it out. I had to pull myself out of this hole. And I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody, that it was so embarrassing. It was so this, it was so that. And that was horrible, not being able to talk to anybody. And so I don't care who you all are. I don't care if I've never met you a day in my life. Please, if you feel like there is shame and you have nobody to talk to, DM me, message me. I will put my information in here. Message me and we can talk about it, because I promise you, you're not the only one. And I promise you that there are things that, it's temporary. It's temporary.
Yeah. Well, I'll even say, like, my books aren't always the best. It happens. Even the people that are extremely successful and they look like they're doing amazing. I've had plenty of clients that are even making millions
Yeah.
and they're not managing their books right. And you don't want to have to take, I know some people in my life that do this, where they take 2 months of stress just to catch up on the whole year's worth of books. And like they don't want to talk to anyone, nothing. That's all they do. And they're like bickering with each other the whole time because they're trying to get it all done. It's really stressful.
How much money did they lose doing that in 2 months? Like,
They first of all, they filed 2 extensions and they do it every year.
okay.
Every year. So also I think if you notice that you're having these cycles of repetitive habits,
Yeah.
a lot of us avoid money. A lot of us avoid looking at our bank accounts, let alone our business bank accounts. Sometimes it's shame because we know that we didn't make the best decisions with the money, and we don't even want to look at it ourselves. And
Right.
that's even better reason to hand it off to someone else, get it in good shape.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, there's many decisions that I have made over the last 10 years that I'm like, oh, that was not good. But
You learn
you
or you fail.
You learn absolutely everything there's no failures, they're all lessons. And you dust yourself off and you keep going. Like that's what you do. And it's great.
Alright.
So
Well,
thank you
thank you,
all.
Kim, so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Izzy. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, for anyone, if you have any questions, be sure to, you can either email Kim if you're getting this on a replay link, or you can drop some comments and we will get back to you within the group. So thanks for watching.
Yes. Thank you guys. Have a good weekend.